What's going on, good people? Welcome back to another race weekend as we are in Brazil. But before we get to some of the things we're going to cover today, keep it real light as we're building in. It is Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thursday. Things start really gearing up for the race weekend. As you see down below, right there, the super chat giveaway is indeed Lewis Hamilton blue sapphire slabbed up card right here. Somebody is going to be a lucky victor of that. Do remember all of your super chats. Each one of your super chats is an entry on the wheel. All right. I will show you the wheel as it sits right now. The wheel is definitely loaded. And I do imagine that it will continue to be just as loaded as we continue through the rest of the next giveaway to come up. But as you see right here, the wheel is loaded with names for that card. And what we will be doing at some point of time during the Brazil GP weekend or week, we will spin to see who is actually going to receive this slab. Do keep in mind also, if you are overseas, things might be a little tricky there as far as shipping is concerned. Might be a bit more of information requested and needed. If you're not willing to do so, and if things are not really feasible there, we will just spin again. Also, once we spin for that, you only have at least to the next day to claim it or until I go live next. And then I'm going to spin again minus your name on that wheel. Okay. So I will be spinning. We're going to move that around. We're not going to wait a week. We're going to wait 2 weeks. If you're not active here enough, then that's on you. But if you're active here enough, you're in the live videos, you're in the comment section, you're watching the videos, even post us going live, you should be able to know that you have been announced to receive that. And to claim it, you will need to hit me up on social media. You will need to hit me up in the Discord group, verify everything so I can know that it's you. And then I'll get all of your information in order to ship that out. If it doesn't happen by the time I go live next, I'm going to spin that wheel again and we're going to see who's going to get that. So that is what we have going on. The super chat, it is a Gem Mint 10 Lewis Hamilton Sapphire Edition Topps Chrome F1 2020. All right. 2020 when he was on the gate right there. All right. Beautiful card, beautiful slab. It is graded. So it's definitely got it's got the stats on the back of that card. So that is a beautiful piece to add to your collection if you're adding things to your collection for Lewis Hamilton, as he likely will be retiring, I don't know, maybe in the next 5 or 6 years. Value is only going to go up on cards like that one below. Sapphires, especially the 2020 year. Yeah, you probably want to be able to get that. And as I said, Monaco Grand Prix winners, it has all of those stats on the back, and it is an official PSA Gem Mint 10. If you know anything about collectibles, Gem Mint 10 means something, all right? Let's get into this because we're also going to have a Wolves Den coming up. And you know what? I like to do the Wolves Den as things progress and I start getting a little bit better here and there. I'm trying to bring back some of the things that makes it so great for you to be a member of the Wolfpack Performance channel. If you're not a member, you need to go ahead and sign up to be a member. YouTube has now made that a lot easier for you to just push join on your phone if you go to the main Wolfpack page, and you be able to participate in things like we're going to have coming up this week. We're going to have a Wolves Den where I'm going to have a guest and you all get to ask the questions, where you become part of the content creation live in time, real, not super chat. You're going to be in on the content creation. Actually, during the process of the interview, you're going to be able to come on. I'm going to let you come on. You're going to ask your question verbally. The guest will answer the question, however, and everybody's going to try to get an opportunity there, hopefully throughout the course or duration of that show. So that's what makes us so awesome here. We are going to be bringing that back, as well as trying to bring back F1 Minute, which F1 Minute will also be for members only going forward. Only members will have access to the live stage, to be backstage, to come on to the channel, to come on as we're live and participate, give your views, give your takes. All of that stuff is starting to gradually come back as I start to get my energy and start to get some things back in place, maybe not all things back in place. Now let's talk about this Brazil race. All right. Bada bing, bada boom. Brazil was not great as far as for these drivers participating last season because the weather was absolutely crap. But before we get into that, we do know podium finishers were Max Verstappen, Ocon, and Gasly. And I'm going to tell you right now, before I get too deep into that, big shout out to AD, big shout out to Miss Dino, big shout out to Darth, Incredible Facts Quest, big shout out to Paul in the super chat as well. Let me read Paul's super chat. I want to make sure I don't miss my brother's super chats right here. Paul in the super chat is saying, what is going on with YouTube, man? It's always something with YouTube. It's always just something that just continuously doesn't act the way it should. Paul says, smash the like button. Paul says, hope everyone is having a blessed day. Paul says, getting my super chats in since I'm at work. Paul says, getting my chance to win that card. Paul, you are definitely in there on that wheel. I can tell you that right now. Paul also says, hug your loved ones extra special today. We got a brother going through a difficult time. Please say prayers and positive of healing. And always remember, we don't know what everyone is going through. Peace and love to fam. That is absolutely true. And that is correct. And we are all going, matter of fact, going through something. Paul right now says, just send my card now. It's fixing to look great in my card collection. Laugh aloud. Good luck to everyone. Smash the like button. Paul is really competitive when it comes to the giveaways. And I'm going to tell you, this is not the last giveaway. Right now, all super chats and through the Brazil weekend are being taken up for the next giveaway in the next few races. And then I'll let you know when I announce the prize is going to get ready to come up. There's going to be a new cycle and the old cycle is closed, but the new cycle is on. You can still get on. We're still going to have giveaways throughout the off season as well as anything else. But yes, Alpine, I don't suspect Alpine is going to have this Cinderella of a finish on a podium. Not this season. I don't think that's going down this season. If that happens this season, I'd be very, very largely surprised and suspicious about what is going on there in the season for Alpine to be able to get such results back to back. That would be absolutely crazy for me, and I'm going to tell you that right now. So I do not expect that. So I don't suspect that at all. So we'll definitely see how, what, when, and what is all going to go on there. But I don't expect to see Alpine. If you're an Alpine fan, don't expect to see them on podium. It's just not realistic this time. But I guess anything could happen. Anything could possibly happen. Also, don't know what all as far as commemorative might happen here with Lewis Hamilton. You do know he and the Senna family have created a bond amongst each other. And a very iconic event took place last time with not only the helmet, but the car. And that was cool. Now, I am very interested to see. I don't want to talk on it too much right now. I'm waiting to see the liveries that are going to be officially announced and brought out. Of course, you're always going to have a lot of AI and renders created about what people would like. And some of those are very cool, but I want to see actually, because there was something that I saw in regard to the McLaren livery. And if McLaren does that, it's going to shit all over Ferrari. And I don't want to cuss. Sometimes I do. I'm not trying to cuss this time, but I'm going to have to, because if McLaren come out with a livery that I saw that could potentially come out this weekend, it's shitting on Ferrari. And it's going to be high ranked up there with the liveries. Right now, the team to have the best liveries through this season is Visa Cash App Red Bull. They are leading in liveries this season. I thought McLaren would do better. They're not. Williams, not so much just yet. They are leading in liveries since the beginning of the season up until now, okay? Now, let's go ahead and talk about qualifying last season, all right? Qualifying last season definitely was a doozy. We had a doozy of qualifying times last season. Lando did get pole. Russ was second. Yuki was third, although not with Red Bull, was third. Lewis Hamilton went out in Q1. Verstappen was out Q2. Aston Martin made it into Q3. McLaren were vastly separated. Leclerc was the only Ferrari. It was absolutely completely mixed up. All right. It was absolutely completely mixed up. There were so many things that were going on there. It was ridiculous. And then our final results for the race definitely turned out different. All right. It was crazy all over the place. So results for the race definitely turned out different. And that was wild. And so then, of course, come race day, when the checker flag drops, we get a little bit more of something different. We get a bit more of different results. Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton did make it top 10, collecting the last point. Yuki still stayed in the top 10 to finish, and Leclerc really didn't bust a grape or move anywhere, and McLaren moved further down the order. I don't want to be the type to anchor last year's results on this year's potential results, and I know we went into what Oscar had done on the back half of last season, where he ended up, how he finished, speculating to some that he might not be as strong on the remaining circuits. This indeed will be a test this season to kind of dismantle all of those shenanigans or some of those speculations, which are fair. Those speculations for people to kind of wonder that it's fair, right? If this is what you did last time, and I gotta wonder what you might do this time, it's fair for me to take that into consideration. It's not 100% bulletproof, but it is fair. All right. So we saw Mercedes made it. We saw that Leclerc made it with a Ferrari. Sainz did not. And McLaren made it. Now, of course, when it comes to rainy weather, we want to know, and we all kind of speculate, the two drivers that we expect to see at the top: Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen. I don't want to see Max Verstappen at the top because I think he got away with murder again this past Mexico racing event with no penalty, no infringement, no note at all. And Leclerc did as well. And there's still a bad cloud hanging around about that entire event, okay? That entire event with that situation was absolutely ridiculous. Redunculous, if you want to go as far as to say that. It was redunculous. Now, let's take a look at what we're going to maybe anticipate as far as when it comes to weather. So when it comes to weather, we are possibly looking at some rain. All right, we're looking at rain again. On the 7th, we're going to have the sprint quali. We're going to have FP1. We're going to have sprint quali. So as you see right there, first practice, sprint qualifying, it is 71 to 96% chance of clouds, along with 60 to 79% chance of rain. So it does indeed look, as of right now, we're possibly going to have a bit of that same weather peak itself out on the first part of the race weekend, okay? So that's going to be on Friday. That's the 7th. This Friday is when that's going to happen. I don't know. It could change. Weather all the time could change. But as of right now, that's what you're looking into. So as it's been through this portion of the season, we've seen certain drivers be able to do better in these inclement weather conditions. Now, when it comes to the 8th on Saturday, we're looking at scattered clouds pretty much, and we're looking at even an increased amount of potential of rain with some breaks here and there. So when I see that, I tend to think that there's going to be a very tasking challenge for the team to figure out when and if we're going to come off inners, go on slicks, maybe inverse, come off slicks, go on inners, especially when you got those partly cloudy, kind of separated, intermittent weather. And depending on the duration of the event, when that spot hits, somebody's going to have to take that gamble and say, hey, we're going to go ahead and go on slicks a tad bit early because I think this is going to let up. And that does give you a strategic advantage. That will give you an on-track advantage. Initially, it's going to suck. But if you're on the slicks before anybody else chooses to, and I mean the sweet spot is 2 laps maybe. The sweet spot is 2 laps. The first lap, you're holding on for dear life. The second lap, things start changing and you start picking up the rhythm. And now on the third lap, you're in the groove, and other teams who didn't take that gamble are into the pits, and you have a very large advantage there, at least for some time, depending on how much of the session has already passed, which could likely put somebody in pole position that wouldn't likely be there. I don't want to say that shouldn't be there, right? I want to say something a bit more positive, that likely we wouldn't expect to make it there. Now, when it comes to race day, the 9th, Sunday, chances of rain taper off. But I'm going to tell you right now, I think it's going to be there. I think if we see rain Friday, Saturday, I think we're likely going to see rain through the rest of this weekend. So this is what your weather is looking like for the Brazil Sao Paulo GP weekend, all the way from FP1, sprint quali, sprint race, quali, and the race. Do also keep in mind, this is a condensed week. Another condensed week where teams are going to have to do as much as they can in a small amount of time frames. And some teams aren't that great with that. And as I said last time, McLaren wasn't that great with that. And this might be a situation where Oscar might struggle with that because it's really odd that Oscar's pace and performance has fallen off in the way that it has. And it does look very suspicious. And Oscar himself even admitted, and I'm gonna ask you all this question. Do you think McLaren are sus? He's admitted that he's had to drive this car different. This new revision update of a McLaren, he's had to drive it different. I haven't heard Lando say that. I know at some part of time, Lando got an update that was Lando specific. And now that we've had this back and forth and this papaya rule dismay, now Oscar struggling with the car that far off pace, it's suspect to me. I don't like it. I do think it's suspect, and I don't trust Zach as far as his allegiance to Lando and trying to be impartial and fair to Oscar. So I'm out on that whole shenanigan and that whole ordeal. If that's what you're trying to sell, I'm not buying it. All right, I'm not buying it at all. I'll need to see it. And we already also suspect that Formula One are doing said things for the sake of viewership and wow factor toward the last race. Paul in the super chat says, "Is there a stat how many GPs at Brazil have had rain? It rains there often. Smash the like button." Actually, I don't know, Paul. That is a good question. But I will tell you this stat, and we can look into that. Matter of fact, I will try to find it while we're here. But just keep in mind, Paul is racking up entries on the next wheel, and Paul's name is largely on this wheel. I can tell you that right now. Paul's name is on this wheel heavy. All like his name's on here heavy. Don't know if he's gonna win it, but I damn sure know it ain't gonna be for short of trying to win it. Like I said, Jim Mint 10 Lewis Hamilton collector's item PSA graded card is up for grabs this GP weekend. Now, as Paul alluded to and his question on that, let's take a look and actually see. Let's see let's see if we can find a percentage of that our stat that would tell us something about that, Paul, because that is a very good question. That's a very good question, brother. I like when you all post questions that don't forget tomorrow is going to be the Wolves Den. The link for the Wolves Den for you all to participate live with the guests, ask questions to the guests will be up later tomorrow morning. We'll have that Wolves Den 1800 Eastern Standard Time. So keep that in mind. Let's see if I can find something on that. The weather conditions at specific tracks. That's damn. I know somebody has to have kept up with that information. Let's just do the best thing. Let's Google that. I got a meeting coming up real soon, so let's Google that. Statistic on rain at the Brazil Sao Paulo GP. Let's see. I know somebody. All right, weather forecast, crucial, title fight, drivers. Or let's see how many times has it rained. GP. All right, so here we go. Does anybody have that? I might have to find this afterwards, Paul, but that is a very good question. I do not see that. I don't see it, but that's a very good question about Interlagos. I think that, damn, Paul, that's one that stumped the group. That's one that stumped the group, bro. That's a very good question. You know what I could do? I know where I might be able to extrapolate some form of that stat. Hold on. Let me see. I'm gonna have to kind of put it together myself, but I think there's a way for me to get you in the ballpark to just kind of find a way to get you there. Yeah, I think this might work out. So how many Grand Prix have we had here? Du-du-du-du. All right, so 20 1990, and let's see, 1990. Is there any way I can look at the weather of that? Damn, that is a good question, man. I like that question. I'm so engulfed in that question. I actually want to know the answer my damn self, bro. Want to know the answer myself because that's a effing good one, bro. But I don't think I'm gonna be able to find it right now. Good question, Paul. Way to go with that super chat. If anybody knows that, feel free to answer that in the comment section or in the live chat because that's a damn good question. I know we've had 47 Grand Prix here. 47. But I don't see that anybody's actually documented, just singled out and picked that information out to say how often has it rained here. I would dare to bet 70% of the time it's probably rained here. That's a lot, but I would dare to kind of go that big or go home on Brazil being 70% of the time. Paul in the super chat says, is there how to be something with McLaren? No way Oscar dropped off this much. And Lando, I agree, brother. I agree. And that's where I am with that as well. Good stat on that. So listen, chat, we got a good stat and a good question by Paul down below in the comment section. If anybody knows that, could you answer that? Because that is a damn good question. We will be starting this Thursday again. Like I say, super chat prize is right here down below. Somebody's walking away with that. If you get called the first time and you don't answer by the time I go live again, I'm going to remove your name from the wheel. So you won't have another chance to win this time. You'll go on the next wheel if you do super chats, and then I'm going to spin that wheel again, that same person, and we'll keep doing that until somebody finally gets up off their ass and says, hey, that's me. I want that Jim Mint 10 Lewis Hamilton Collector's Edition Sapphire card. I want that. That's me. So we will be doing that. Big shout out to Paul. Big shout out to everybody getting in on the live chat. I'm going to see you again on the next one. Peace and love. Be safe. Stay healthy. I'm out.